What's going on, guys? JHoyt back with you today. And wow, this feels like it's been forever since we've covered one of these videos. But we are on Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and we have an event coming up. So we kind of went over that the CDL and, a lot of other sports events and everything, all the homestands have been canceled, at least for the in-person stuff, but they're continuing online. So this weekend, was it the 10th, 9th, 10th, 11th, whatever it is, we are having the CDL Dallas homestand, even though it's all online and there's nothing in person at all. But we still have matches. It's all going to be online, like I said, and we have our 8 teams. So as you can see on your screen now, we have Group A, where we have the Florida Mutineers versus the Toronto Ultra. Now, before I get into predictions of this match, we do have a little side note on this. I believe Pristini is still out. I don't think they've announced if he is in or not, so I believe he's still out last time I checked and heard. Like I said, I don't know if he's back 100% or not, but in the case that he's not, I still think they're going to win this match just because of the talent they have on this team. But then you also have Toronto, who have, yeah, they're like one of the only teams that has a full 10-man roster, so they haven't really been doing great. I mean, they're last in the league right now, and maybe they switch up their team. I know they made a change earlier in the year where they put in Bance. I don't know what the roster is. I know obviously all these teams have been scrimming and some role changes and everything happened, so I don't know what their team is going to this. They might have switched it up. Like I said, I have not really seen anything from them. But in this one, I would definitely predict the Florida Mutineers to win this. I didn't even mention it. So in place of Pristini, it was Fair or Ferocities. He kind of goes by both names, I guess. But I would predict Florida to come out in that one nonetheless. The second half of Group A comes with the Dallas Empire, the home team in this one, versus the Los Angeles Guerrillas. Now, Dallas has been the same team all year. The LA Guerrillas just made a huge change. I believe, what was it, right before the last event or after the last event or something like that. So they have basically still a brand new team. And you never know what's going to come out of that team, especially with, you did have some veterans on that team. Now you have some young guys in there. So I don't know what their roster is going into this one. I would assume it's the same as when we left off with, was it Vivid, Proto, Aqua, Blastful, and somebody else, I think. Like I said, I don't even remember this team. I mean, they're sitting tied for last in the league with 2 other teams, with Toronto being one of them. So do I expect much from them? No. I mean, Dallas have been a strong team, right? They start off the year a little shaky. Since then, they've definitely, caught back up, and they've won even the last event. So obviously, they're looking for a back-to-back victory. So they sit in 3rd right now overall in the standings. But I do obviously predict that Dallas will win this, just due to the fact that they've been the same team all year long so far. LA has not looked good at all. Plus, with the recent roster change, has that been for the better? I haven't really seen anything from them. I think they scrimmed Chicago the other day. I think it was that team, but again, I don't even remember who's on that team anymore. So I don't think it's gonna be an easy one. I think it's gonna be a quick 3-0. Dropping down to Group B, though, we have it with Seattle and Paris. This one could go either way. I mean, Seattle has been looking kind of questionable. They sit top 8 right now, but they only have 10 more points than those last place teams, so I don't really see them doing too much. The Paris Legion currently sit top 5, tied with Florida, with 50 points overall. Do I see Paris or Seattle doing anything major in this tournament? Not really. I'd probably predict Paris to do more than Seattle would, so that's why I did pick them in this one. This probably could be a really close series, though, when it comes down to it. And then we have what's arguably probably the toughest matchup of the first round, maybe second to that Paris and Seattle game. We're going to have the Chicago Huntsmen against the Minnesota Roker. This one's been a good one where Chicago has had the upper hand so far. And another note on this match, the Chicago Huntsmen actually have made a role change in their team. Now, they've been doing fine. Don't get me wrong. They've been doing fine. Envoy has been frying lately in scrims. But maybe they just decided internally that they were going to switch Formal off that main AR to the second AR, whereas Arcides is going to go to that main AR role. So Formal will most likely be using a sub most of the time, and then when that second AR needs to be pulled out, that's where he comes into play with that one. But just an interesting note. I mean, role changes, even though they're second, well, I guess tied for first in the league with Atlanta, which I haven't mentioned yet, but Atlanta not attending this event. So that's a really good chance for Chicago to get back up in that first place position. As long as they get top 6, they get 10 more points. So I don't want to say no matter what, but pretty good chance that they move up, you know, a little bit in this event. So clearly my prediction is with Chicago in this one. But jumping up to Group A, once again, we're going to have the knockout match between Toronto and the LA Guerrillas. Like I said, when you know, we were recapping or recalling the Dallas and LA series, that LA, I mean, I just hate to just put a team out just because of the recent roster change and the fact of where they are in the standings. But Toronto, you know, they do sit at the bottom of the league, but I do think they're going to be a stronger team than LA. I mean, it's so hard to go against a team that hasn't really shown anything. Like, it's just so hard. So I definitely predict Toronto in that one. But they'll move on into that knockout match 2, where we have to have the loser of Florida and Dallas. And once again, we have Dallas in this one, definitely the favored team, where they go against Florida, which still their roster is in question. Don't know if Persini's back or not. Even if Persini is back, I'd probably favor Dallas. But if Persini is in there, then I could definitely see some upset potential there. But in this case, we're going to have Dallas moving on. That's going to put Florida and Toronto in that knockout match, where I would definitely predict Florida to win that one, just because they are the better of the two teams there. Even with the unknown roster of Florida, you know, I still think that they're just an overall good team around, and they're definitely in that top 5 question right now. Jumping down to Group B, though, we got to knock out a couple more teams, where Minnesota goes against the Seattle Surge, where I think once again Minnesota will show that they are a team to, like, not to be reckoned with, where Seattle's still trying to find their footing in the league and just overall not really playing the greatest so far. You know, they did make that change where they dropped Enable or moved him to the bench in favor of, what was it, Pander. So is that helping them? I don't know. I mean, obviously we haven't really had an event in a while. So I still predict that, that Minnesota will come out on top in this one, as we go up and have the main match with Chicago and Paris. Now, last time these two teams faced off, I believe it was a Game 5 fashion, where Chicago ended up winning that one, but they took 2 hard points off, or Paris took 2 hard points off Chicago last time. So will that happen again? We don't know. Again, roster changes for Chicago might help that. Plus, Envoy has been in great form recently. I know it's just scrims. I know it's online, but he's definitely been frying recently. So I definitely predict Chicago to come out in that one. But with that loss to Chicago, Paris drops down and faces off against the Minnesota Roker. This one, again, could be a very tough matchup. Probably Game 5 potential, where I believe we have Minnesota predicted to come out in this one. So they're going to move on to the semifinals. So in the semifinals, we're down to 4 teams. We have Dallas and Minnesota, and Chicago and Florida. Now, again, we have the matchups that, you know, are kind of obvious in a sense, but could be going either way depending on how each team comes out. Dallas and Minnesota being that first matchup. We got winners Group A versus losers Group B. Dallas, Minnesota. I definitely predict Dallas coming out of that one. I mean, again, there could be an upset potential depending on how Dallas come out and play, but coming off the last win, plus it's their homestand now, that you know, they're probably going to come out with some extra fire and take out Minnesota. Then we have Chicago and Florida, a battle of last time. Somehow they get Chicago gets reverse swept, and you know, do I think that's going to happen again? I don't think so, mainly because Chicago is, you know, that tier 1 team, whereas Florida is a good team, but I still think they're a tier 2 team. right behind them with Minnesota and Paris, just kind of tier 2, not really that elite team. Somehow they got them. But again, we still don't know the situation with Faro and Pristini. Don't know who's going to be starting in those ones. But I definitely do predict Chicago coming out in that one, setting up a Chicago-Dallas grand final once again, as unfortunately for the Dallas Empire, that Chicago is going to come out and win this one. Both these teams, though, will move ahead of Atlanta FaZe as long as neither of them, kind of completely don't do anything in this event. Where they just get double first rounded. But obviously Atlanta not being there, that they can't really, gain any points. But Dallas and Chicago most likely will move ahead into those first 2 spots. So, we're going to an online league now. You never know. I mean, Dallas also with their internet there, I know they're definitely some online warriors. So I don't know if they're gonna have any way to combat that, whether they're going to have special servers or what, but we'll have to wait and see as we watch it off later tonight, as this video should go up before all the matches start. So we have Chicago winning this one, hopefully getting back into first place in the CDL. But anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up here. If you did enjoy, hit that like button down below. Leave your thoughts and comments down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. And as always, guys, we'll see you next time.